Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mug Up with BBNC. I'm Kayla Wilson. I'm your co-host today. We also have Carmel Ingebretson here. Hey,
Hello.
Carmel. And our special guest today is Alannah Hurley. If you don't know her, she's the Executive Director for United Tribes of Bristol Bay. She's also a huge advocate and leader for Bristol Bay. So hi, Alannah. Good to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. So for those that don't know you, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My Yupik name is Achuk. My Irish name is actually Alannah Hurley. My parents are Desmond and Andrea Hurley, and my grandmother was the late Munchuk. And we are originally from Sruyak, Clark's Point in Bristol Bay, but I live and work now in Dillingham for United Tribes of Bristol Bay. I'm married to Terry Mann, who's originally from Cocknock, and we have 5 beautiful kids that we're raising in Bristol Bay too. I grew up in Clark's Point, but didn't have a high school when I was young, so I ended up going to high school in Dillingham. Really blessed to grow up where I came from. Her family's originally from Clark's Point too. I was just really thankful that I was able to grow up there, that I'm able to return there every summer and intermittently throughout the year. It's definitely where my heart lives, and just feel so blessed to be from Bristol Bay.
I just want to say Alannah and I got to spend summers, like she grew up in Clark's Point, but my family would go there in the summer, and I don't know if I should say this, but I would always dread going, specifically because the outhouse, like I would cry when we left for Clark's because I hated using the outhouse. But when I look back, it's like those summers were so special growing up, and now that I'm raising my own kids too, I'm like, man, they need to have some level of that experience that I had, because like outhouse experience. They got a little outhouse last summer when we were in Dillingham, but they need more of that. And just like looking back at my summers in Clark's and my time with Alannah, we would like crochet some things and
hustle on the road and sell lemonade to random fishermen.
It was so much fun, but really excited to have you here today and hear more about your story.
Since I saw you last, you now have some traditional tattoos, and people are going to see it on the cover photos. So do you have a story behind that?
My traditional tattoos are the same design as my great-grandma, actually both of my great-grandmas, and I got them this summer, and I feel like I'm at a transition point in life, and I'd been thinking about this for a really long time, but I'm definitely moving out of, I feel like, young womanhood, and now kind of like in the 40s, middle age transition. You know, my family dynamics changed pretty significantly this summer when our matriarch, my aunt, passed away. And I just really feel like I was ready. And I was really happy to have Bet's Costin Border, who's Mickey and Betty Lopez's granddaughter, do them for me. She's actually, her family's from Bristol Bay as well. And it just kind of aligned perfectly that, this transition time in my life, I'm ready for this. My great-grandma's had these markings. It's a sacred feminine practice from our culture. To be honest, I was like a little nervous about it in previous years because I really wanted to make sure I understood what it meant. Not only understand, but like feel like I was ready for that transition and this piece, because traditionally these were huge milestones in life to get these different markings for different people, and I think they mean different things for different regions. But knowing that this was what my great grandmothers had, that this is a practice like due to colonization that we somewhat have lost quite a bit. But it used to be a normal thing and a really sacred thing for our women to do. And so it's been really healing, really empowering. And I think it's really changed my perspective a bit about what cultural renaissance and revitalization looks like. I feel like I was really worried about getting everything perfect and right. And I think when we're revitalizing culture, when we're bringing back things that were taken from us, especially as Native women and all of the things that we face, this experience really helped me change my perspective about what that looks like and how it's okay to personalize and it's okay to revitalize things in the ways that we can. It's not our fault these things were taken from us. And so I'm just really thankful, and I feel really good about it. I feel really like it was very healing, it's still very empowering. It just feels so amazing to like have a spiritual practice continue with me that skipped a couple generations because of all of the colonization and issues that our people faced. And so to be able to reclaim that is really special.
I love that you have a story behind it. They're so beautiful, and I knew I needed to ask in our podcast. So that was very powerful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So, Alannah, what led you to your career and where you're at, particularly around advocacy for Bristol Bay?
Yeah, I've been asked this a couple times in different contexts, and I always have the same answer. And I think it was my upbringing. I really feel like I was so blessed to grow up with my grandma Manchok, and just Clark's Point as a community as a whole takes care of each other, even when we may not like each other. People show up in hard times. They take care of the people who need it the most. Just being brought up in those values, even amongst such great change and challenge, being brought up in those values and with my grandma and community, I think really just instilled in me this, recognition that there's a lot of injustice, a lot of need for change. And just my upbringing really instilled in me a sense of responsibility to my family, my community, and our region. And I really think growing up with my grandma was a huge, if not, the main reason for that. I feel like recognizing that responsibility was something that came over time. You don't recognize that responsibility when you're 16. Definitely moving into young adulthood and recognizing the amount of injustice or things that we need to work on as a community, the need for our people to stay home and commit and help, I think was a huge motivator for me to use my energy and time for Bristol Bay.
Our next question is about your journey to being the executive director of UTBB, short for United Tribes of Bristol Bay. Do you think your upbringing and your responsibilities kind of carry into your role now? And how did you get there?
Definitely. Looking back, the year I graduated from high school in 2004, Pebble was just starting to become a pretty big issue, right? People were starting to think about it, hear about it in the news. And it just coincided with me coming into adulthood. And I think, when I went to college, I still stayed involved. I tried my best to learn even when I was away. But I bounced around quite a bit. I went to a few different colleges and then realized, because I was really looking for something that fit what I was passionate about, what I wanted to do. And it was really hard to find an area of study in academia that aligned with what I felt I needed to do. And then a good friend of mine recommended the Native American Studies program at UNM in Albuquerque. And, across the board, these are different programs now, Alaska Native Studies, American Indian Studies, those types of things. And you would think historic. At first, I was like, I don't want to go and have an anthropologist tell me about myself. That's not the experience I'm looking for. But when I learned about the actual program and what they were doing and, talking about federal Indian law and sovereignty and tribal rights and revitalization of cultures and languages, all of these different things, I really found, I feel like, a place that aligned with what I felt was my passion. And so I was really lucky to be able to graduate from there, have exposure to other people, other tribes, other issues. And I feel like that experience and that program really gave me the foundation for the philosophical approach to what I wanted to do with my time and how I wanted to spend my energy, Native nation building, in advancing tribal self-determination. And so when I came home, it was kind of a natural transition from some of my work over the summers and in high school around Pebble. And I worked in different organizations over time, but my heart has always been about our people, about subsistence, about protecting our Indigenous ways of life. And so, with such an existential threat facing our people, I really wanted to work for Bristol Bay and amplify people's voices. And so when the opportunity came about, when the tribes decided to organize, I, jumped on early on as just basically like an assistant, and then over time was moved into the position I am in today.
Did you always know that you wanted to come back to Bristol Bay?
I did. Okay. Yeah, I did. I felt like being away almost made it much clearer to me. Like, oh, wow, like you see all these different pieces of the world, you have all these different experiences, and and being away from home really helps you appreciate it more. I feel like than I did when I was younger. And it's like, wow, we are actually so wildly blessed to be from here, to be able to live our ways of life like our ancestors did, to be able to hunt and fish and all of the things, and the sense of community I feel like our communities have is still extremely strong. Like you see such disconnect in the world, and inequity, and I just feel like being away definitely strengthened my desire to be home and to use my energy to help.
Awesome. Can you share some of the most meaningful projects or initiatives you've worked on in your time at UTBB and throughout your career?
One of the things is it's not like a specific thing, but I'll tell you a story about an experience I had that I think kind of captures what I have found most rewarding. And it was when we were fighting Pebble, and we were in some of our communities preparing for the EPA hearings. I don't know if you've ever attended any of the EPA hearings, but they're extremely moving. And to hear people in their own words talk about why our way of life is so important and sacred to them and what they're willing to do, I just feel like EPA hearings that I attended were just extremely powerful. Full truth, I was feeling really burnt out and really run down at one of these hearings in one of our villages. And I was staying at a B&B with an elderly lady, and she must have just sensed that my light was dim, and I was just tired. I was tired of fighting. I was tired of Pebble. I was just tired. And she was in her 70s probably at the time, maybe late 60s, and boarding school survivor. All of these things had come through in life. Just this amazing, resilient woman. Almost cry every time I talk about this. But she was telling me and this is when we're in the final. It's been a soap opera, but one of the final get close to hope that we're gonna put this to bed. And she started talking about a bunch of the stuff she'd been through in life and feeling voiceless and like she was almost in disbelief, but we're gonna get there. I've always believed it, but after everything our people have been through, knowing that collectively, if we don't give up, even when the odds are against us, we're gonna prevail. Her feeling so much empowerment, after everything she had been through in life, through this process, wow, if we use our voice, if we stick together, if we don't give up, how powerful that is. And the personal empowerment for people who have felt so disenfranchised or devalued by society, these things, it was just such a shift for me. Having that experience with her, that yes, we're fighting to protect our ways of life. Yes, we're working to protect our home. But one of the most beautiful things that have come out of that, in my opinion, is things like that experience. People feeling empowered, and people feeling valued, and people willing to fight for what they believe in. That. You can't put a price tag on that. You can't quantify how valuable that is for our region and our communities in the future. Because when people feel that empowerment, they do amazing things. And I feel like it's just really healing. It's a healing thing for our people at the same time. And so when I look back and I think about the most meaningful pieces, helping empower people to use their voice, and feeling healed and valued and empowered in that process, is probably the thing that I'm most thankful to have been a part of.
Oh, I love that. What a good story.
Amazing.
Yeah. It did sound like you had kind of some challenges because Pebble was a long, hard fight. And
And it still
It still
is,
is. I was just gonna
unfortunately.
say that. Yeah. I don't know if it will really ever go away. But were there any other challenges? Like, you sounded like you were very tired and your light was dim, just from like this really long, hard fight. I mean, decades.
Yeah, I feel like we're talking about having kids. Like, our kids are going to have to continue to defend our ways of life and our home, but hopefully not in the same ways we have. Hopefully we're making enough progress that they're able to build and they're able to use their energy to heal and build and move forward and not be in defense mode. And if there's anything I can do for my kids to give them that freedom, oh my goodness, I'll keep doing it, because nobody grows up and says, I want to fight mines for the rest of my life. Like that,
Totally.
that's not something that, I feel like is something people grow up wanting to do. It's just something that we have to do. It's our inherent responsibility to steward our home. The work that our region did in the COVID crisis is something that I also find really meaningful. The way that our leadership and our communities came together to try and protect our people, literally in like life or death situations. I just have so much respect for the folks who were on the front lines at that time, doing everything they could to make sure that our people were going to be protected. And that's a tall order when you're home to the largest commercial sockeye salmon run in the world, right? And figuring out how to balance those things and put our people first, I feel like that was a really probably one of the most challenging times of my life, but also the most meaningful. I think some of the biggest challenges have been the swinging pendulum of American politics. That makes it really hard to work in advocacy and policy. I would say on a more interpersonal level, having to navigate the generational trauma and internalized oppression that I think manifests as ego in modern Native leadership, or one way it can manifest as ego, dysfunction that can create in our work, in our relationships, in our communities. I feel like that has been a huge challenge. There's so much personal healing I feel like a lot of our people still need to do from the impacts of colonization, that because of that disruption and how it's manifesting in today's systems and our organizations and our relationships, having to navigate that, even in myself, I'm not trying to say that this is not me, right? We're all navigating these things, has been a really big challenge. And I feel like one way that I continually try to navigate that is returning to traditional teachings and values. They sound wildly simple, but they're sometimes the most profound, like turning the other cheek, not retaliating when people are trying to lash out at you, operating with love and respect. Very basic things have been my personal go-to, and I'm not always perfect at it, right? We're not always perfect at these things, but remembering those things that my grandma told me are the only way I've been able to successfully navigate some of these really big challenges, I feel. And really recognizing that the hurt that people are carrying and how that's showing up in our workplaces, in our personal relationships, comes from, the impacts of colonization, and they're not necessarily inherent to us as people, really helps give me the perspective to operate with empathy and love. And I feel like that's something that I'm continually trying to learn and grow, that I didn't necessarily have that perspective at it when I was a little younger.
That's good advice.
It's so simple, but it's so difficult.
It's
at the
so
same time.
hard.
So how do you balance community needs, cultural values, and organizational goals in your work?
When I think about balancing these things, in my mind, our values are the foundation, right, of how we show up with organizational goals, how we address our community's needs, and those values that, that we're all familiar with: respect, integrity, strong work ethic, kindness, sharing. Our people traditionally viewed you were wealthy if you could share, not how much you could accumulate for yourself. Caring for the most vulnerable, really operating and recognizing the importance of the collective. And so, like, if values are the foundation of that, our organizational goals have to be aligned with those values to adequately meet the needs and serve our communities in ways that empower, that are aligned with those values, and that honestly decolonize and strengthen us as a collective, in my opinion. We have to have alignment with our traditional values and our organizational goals to serve and meet community need in a much more concise way, to say what I just said, I think. And I think some of that, the how we meet the needs of our community, I think we would across the board benefit, myself included, the work we do included. It's something we try to do regularly, is self-reflect. Is what we're doing working? Is the system that we operate in conducive with our values? If it isn't, what needs to change? How can we change these modern systems and modern organizations or structures to be more aligned with our values, to better meet the needs of our people? And really, like, being willing to evaluate in an honest way and be like, actually, no, that isn't working. What can we do differently? Or it's not working as well as it could. Are we evaluating and reflecting regularly? And I think one North Star for myself has always been, is what I'm doing, would my grandma be proud of what I'm doing? Would she approve of what I'm doing, my approach, how I'm behaving, how I'm addressing this? Personally, that's always been like a North Star for me, and how I balance how I show up in work.
I love that.
Yeah.
What would grandma do?
I think what might help a little bit, obviously we know UTBB is a big leader in the fight against Pebble, but you guys do a whole lot more. You want to talk a little bit about some of the other things UTBB is doing?
Sure. I think our tribal leaders initially united in this organization to empower our tribal voices, to amplify tribal voices, to really create an organization that had the ability to be powerful advocates for our people. And I really believed in that, and I'm really happy and thankful to have been a part of this organization for as long as I have. And I think over time, especially as we've made progress, there's a recognition that in order for our people to truly be sustainable, we have to address other areas of our lives. That stewardship and long-term guardianship is, critical. We have to be able to protect our lands and waters, but there are other pieces of life that we have to address in order for our communities and people to be sustainable, and our ways of life. They very much intentionally chose a few other focus areas to guide our work, and that, revolves around sustainable economies. We don't want Pebble, so how do we develop our economies in ways that are conducive to our way of life, that are aligned with our traditional values, but really help our people be able to thrive in a modern cash economy? And then another focus area is empowering tribal self-determination and sovereignty. How do we strengthen our governance systems, our tribes? Because we know when our tribes are strong, when we're solving our own problems, when we're in real, decision-making authority around issues that we're facing, that we're going to be the most successful in achieving long-lasting sustainability. And then the last one, which is really dear to my heart, is the recognition around the need for community and cultural well-being. Our people have to know where they come from. If we are not well, we are not sustainable. We have to heal from generational trauma. We have to really be focused and committed to revitalizing our spiritual practices, our languages, that body of work, and that kind of philosophical approach as well. That all four of these focus areas give us the ability to address sustainability more holistically. And so I feel like that expansion of our work is something that's still ongoing, and how that shows up and what that looks like. But there's been a lot of, I would say, excitement from our communities, our people, our tribes, that we're going to start working in other areas as well. And that, I guess I'll just also disclaimer that we're not trying to duplicate amazing work that's already being done, because there's a lot of really good work across the board in Bristol Bay. But how can we use the lessons we've learned in stewardship, in the fight against Pebble? How do we use those lessons and the tools that we've learned over time to address some of these other areas in ways that make sense for our organization?
Yeah, you guys do a lot over at UTBB. They are very lucky to have you, and Bristol Bay is lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we have an amazing team.
Alannah, you're a big leader in Bristol Bay and big advocate. What's some lessons you have learned about leadership that you'd want to share with others, especially when it comes to young people and emerging leaders in Bristol Bay?
I love to learn things the hard way. So I have a laundry list of things I've learned the hard way. I would say, like, if I have one message to share with young people in Bristol Bay, is that, you are needed. We need you. Our communities are in dire need of our people stepping up into positions of leadership, filling the halls of the Board of Fish, teaching our kids at school, all of these different pieces of society. You are so needed. And until our people are able to help direct some of those things, help advocate in those areas, help lead our organizations, I feel like we're going to still have these issues of effective impact and truly meeting the needs of our communities. And so that's, like, if I had one thing to say, it's you are so needed. You are valued. You are our future. We absolutely need you. And everybody is going to do that in their own way, right? And there's so many different ways people can use their talents, their skills, their passions in ways that are fulfilling to them personally, as well as serve our community. In terms of other lessons and advice, I think I talked a little bit earlier about responsibility, but like the recognition that it's our inherent duty. I believe it's our inherent duty to protect our ways of life. Like, I was brought up in that frame of mind. It is our inherent responsibility. We're combating at times mainstream society's focus on the individual, focus on privilege, focus on those things, and trying to rectify that with our traditional values. And so recognizing that leadership is not a privilege, it is a responsibility that we must take seriously. And how we approach that responsibility to serve our people, to protect our ways of life, really is rooted in those Indigenous values and practices. And I think at the end of the day, one thing that I heard that really resonated with me when I was younger is that even in the natural resource work, even in the stewardship work that we do, the fight against Pebble, all of that's like rooted from love for our people, love for our lands, love for our way of life. And so operating from a place of love in that recognition of our inherent duty, I think really helps keep us centered about what this is really about, because it's really easy to get lost in things that make you angry, in the injustices. It's so easy to like have your spirit get wrapped up in anger and operate from a place of anger. That resonated with me as a young person a lot because I was very angry. I guess the other thing is, and this plays right into that, is like progress is made as a collective, not as individuals. Like, there's no way that our people have survived this long just being all about me, right? Or like people being all about themselves. I would say at the end of the day, like staying centered in our values, treating everyone the same, like not buying into superficial things, really staying grounded in our values and treating people the same is really important to me and has helped me in life. Not letting others define you. I feel like everybody wants to define Native people a certain way, define women a certain way. Like, do not let other people define who you are and what you should do with your time and energy. That's like an intrinsic thing, right? And so really just listening to your intuition and your gut is really going to, I think, help you in ways that are going to bring you to where you're meant to actually be. And I feel like this is something I really struggled with growing up. Like, am I supposed to be this way? Am I supposed to be that way? Oh, if I do this, then it means this. Or if I don't do this way, then, these people aren't going to like me. But when you're young, like, I feel like some of that is natural, right? But really trying to work toward finding peace and purpose in yourself, because there's always someone who's going to be telling you what you should be doing, who you are, how you should be operating. And at the end of the day, we have to be true to ourselves in order to actually live the life we're meant to live.
That's good advice. Not just for young people, but for anybody.
Yeah. So how can folks support or get involved in the work that UTBB is doing?
Oh my goodness, there's a lot of different ways. You can sign up for our email listserv on our website. You can wear our swag. You can apply for some of the remote work opportunities that we're going to have. You can come by our office if you're in Dillingham. We always are operating from a place of being rooted in our communities. That's like one of our biggest goals, is making sure that we're rooted in and aligned with our communities. And so if we're in your community, come out to one of our events, reach out to us with ideas. I feel like we're a really receptive organization. Pay attention on social media to some of the critical take action opportunities. There's going to be a bill in the state legislature next year working to add a prohibition on mining to the Bristol Bay Fisheries Reserve that currently exists in Bristol Bay, so our kids aren't doomed to fight project after project from now into millennia. So there's going to be a lot of really critical ways for folks to use their voice, to be heard, to be involved. And at the end of the day, I always say, like, just keep being native, man. Keep teaching your kids how to hunt and fish, how to yurak, how to revitalize their language. Like, just keep passing on our ways of life, keep learning for those of us that are continuing to learn and revitalize. Those are some of the, I think, most powerful ways we can continue to protect our ways of life.
What's UTBB's website?
UTBB.org.
Easy.
Yeah.
And then what social media channels do you guys have?
We have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.
Okay, great.
You mean X?
Show us how out of the loop I am on social media, right? Yes, I am X. I still call it tweet and Twitter. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we're always kind of talking about future generations and what to look forward to in the future. What are your hopes or your vision for Bristol Bay for the next 5 to 10 years?
I think at the core is that we continue to heal, we continue to decolonize, we continue to work on our systems and our institution, reflecting and being more aligned with our values and practices, more collaboration across different entities to get out-of-the-box solutions, really deepening what I feel like is a cultural renaissance happening across the state. You hear people use that term. Celebrating and uplifting our traditional knowledge, practices, and activities in the same ways that we do Western successes. Another piece, I really hope that we work toward decentralizing opportunity into our communities, into all of our communities in Bristol Bay. I really feel like high-speed internet has changed the game, and that decentralizing that opportunity and spreading out the resources is very much aligned with our traditional values, and we have what it takes to get there. Another piece in 5 to 10 years, I think that's really important, is mentoring up young people to lead our organizations. I really think that we have it intrinsically within us. Our people did not survive for thousands of years without mentoring young people into leadership, without raising hunters, without raising people who knew how to, sew. Like, this is something we've been doing forever. So how do we take that and translate it into modern institutions and society so that we're consistently bringing our own people up to run our organizations? Because we know that when we are doing that, we're more self-determined and therefore more impactful in meeting the needs of our communities. And I will just end my long-winded answer with, like I said, I learned things the hard way. And my nan, as she got older, my grandma, as she got older, she would repeat things a lot to me. And I thought it had to do with her age. And now, after she's gone, I recognize it's because she very much loved me and knew that I needed to hear things over and over and over again, because I love to learn things the hard way. But she would tell me all the time in quiet moments, the most important things in life are, first, you have to love your family, take care of your family. Your family is like a critical piece of your life. Love other people is the second thing she said. You have to take care of other people. You've got to love other people. And the last thing she would say, which I think is something that we struggle with as well, is love yourself. Like, at the end of the day, you have to love yourself. You have to have joy. You have to value yourself at the same time. And so just operating from love, she always just told me those are the most three important things. If you can live with those instructions, you're going to have a really good life. I'll just end with that, because that was what she always said to me.
That's so special. And
it's so simple, but so profound when we are in such unprecedented times.
Well, I think that was a really good ending.
Yeah.
But is there anything else you want to share?
No, thank you guys for doing this. Thanks for inviting UTBB to be a part of the podcast. I'm always up for like supporting new ways of reaching people. It's exciting.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was so great to chat with you and hear your stories and all your wisdom.
They're lucky to have you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you to Carmel for being a great co-host. And as always, to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you found this conversation as inspiring and all the advice as helpful as we did. Be sure to give us a follow on Spotify or anywhere you listen to podcasts. We will see you next time.
For millennia, Bristol Bay has been a part of us. Wherever we travel, it remains home. From our elders to our descendants, we are connected through a shared promise to protect our home and our native way of life. For today, tomorrow, and every generation to follow. Time marches on, but we remain one Bristol Bay. Bristol Bay Native Corporation, always more than a corporation.